You were just working. All right, here we go. We're going to look back real quick at repeat signs. We're doing I put units 3 and 4 together because unit 3 was so short and you just had a test, and I didn't want you to have to do another test as soon as you came back. Give you a little bit of a break there. So I want to look at these repeat signs with you again and make sure that we're all clear about what's going on with repeat signs. So, of course, the repeat signs are the 2 dots placed before the double bar line. And so if I'm looking at this line of music here, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures. And there's the repeat sign. If you see just one repeat sign, it doesn't matter how many pages of music or how many measures there are. If there's just one repeat sign, you go all the way back to the beginning. Got it? So this time signature is 2, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 beats in each measure. If I'm repeating all the way back to the beginning, how many beats is going to be played total here? 10, right? We're clear about that? You don't look like you're confused.
Oh, number 9.
You don't have it. I mean, I've already given you this. It's in your folders.
This is something we did last week.
Right. Okay. I'm just reviewing this before I get to that test review because it doesn't go as in depth. So a pair of repeat signs just means to go back to the previous repeat sign. So however many measures you see the first repeat sign, take note of it, because whenever you see the other one that's the dots are facing on the opposite direction, it means go back to that repeat sign. So again, we're in 2, 4. There's two measures here. There's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Repeat this. So 22 beats total in this line, right? Mr. Duke, can you play this little example for us? So we get a tempo. 1, 2, ready, and do, 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 mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. Repeat. Do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, re, do. Off. Good. Now, this is the one that gets kind of tricky, is the first and second ending. So here is an example of the first and second ending where there's a repeat sign, but we didn't see one earlier. So that means we do what? You go all the way back to the beginning. So do, re, mi, fa, first ending. Mi, re, do, re, repeat. Do, re, mi, fa. Skip the first ending or the second ending. Mi, re, do. So if I wanted to count how many beats total would be in this line, which is important because you'd be asked to do this, I see 4, 8, 12, 16. Repeat. 4 or 20, 24. Skip these measures. 28 and 32. That's 32 beats worth of music, represented in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measures. A great tool, saving paper and ink, and putting all the music concisely on one page so that you don't have those page turns. Page turns are tricky for instrumentalists and for vocalists. You lose your focus when you're having to turn the page. You lose your train of thought. So keeping it succinct in one small area is very helpful for performance. Okay, so we're going to try these exercises again. We're going to rewrite the following examples using a repeat sign. So there's 8 measures here, and we need to get it to fit into 4 measures. So what you're looking for is patterns. Okay, so I can clearly, very visibly look at this and see that it's repeating here. It's not rocket science. It shouldn't take you a long time to figure that out. However, if that is an issue for you, let's see what we can do. Measure 1 has to go into measure 1. Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. The beginning is the beginning, no matter what. So if this is an issue for you, just know that when you number this line down here with your measures, 1 has to go with 1. So there's a good little tip. Da, 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 da. 2 obviously needs to go into 2. 3. And 4. Well, I've run out of measures. Hopefully, the music repeats here. Yeah, same thing. Great, good. So what I need here is a double bar line and a repeat sign telling me to go back to the beginning. So, mi, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, do, do. Mi, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, do, do. Does it sound the same here? Mi, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, do, do. Repeat. Mi, re, mi, fa, so, mi, do, do, do. Exact same thing. That one's not so tricky, but when we're trying to transcribe music and get it to fit into a first and second ending, that gets a little tricky. This example is asking us to use a pair of repeat signs. It's important to note that I'm going over this page with you again because I want you to be able to do this on your test. You might see this page again on your test.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, hint. Okay, well, first thing you should do is number your measures. Let's get that out of the way. $12. And we're trying to fit 12 measures of music into 7 measures. Okay. I need a pair of repeat signs. Remember, that looks like this. Somewhere. Well, the first thing I can go ahead and start doing is measure 1 has to be measure 1. Let's just keep copying until we run out of music. Measure 2 has to be measure 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I've run out of measures. So I need to figure out where it begins to repeat. Well, we ended with if I go to the end here, that lines up. Measure 11 and 6 line up. 10 and 5. 9 and 4. 8 and 3. And that's where it stops. So there's the last 4, 1, 2, 3, 5 measures I didn't get to fit in there. So the repeat sign belongs here. Do, mi, so, do, mi, so, mi, so, mi, do, re, ti, do, mi, so, mi, do, re, ti, do. Off. Let's see if my little example down here sounds the same. Do, mi, so, mi, so, mi, so, mi, do, re, ti, do. Repeat. Mi, so, mi, do, re, ti, do. Off. Sounded the same. It looks a little bit different. Looks shorter. It's not though. All right. And the first and second ending repeat. Rewrite the following example using the first and second endings. What is your first thing that you need to take care of? Number your measures. Thank you. Someone's listening. And I'm trying to get 8 measures of music to fit into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to take note of the time signature. There should be 4 beats in each measure. Measure 1 has to line up with measure 1. 2 is 2. 3 is going to be 3, and 4 is going to be 4. So it looks like we're going to be worried about measures 5 through 8, and we only have 2 measures left. So I can go ahead and transcribe these measures in. No. Okay, I've run out of measures there. So already it's telling me da 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 da. Now right here is telling me to go back to the beginning. So measure 1 and 1 here are the same. Measure 2 and 2 are the same. Measure 3 and 4 are under the first and the first ending, so I don't need these the second time. Da 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 da. 5 and 1 are the same. I don't need that again because I'm repeating. I've already put it in. 6 is the same, so 7 and 8. So here's your other tip. The last 2 measures will be the last 2 measures. They have to wind up in the same spot, okay? So just by a simple process of elimination, even if this repeat sign thing was kind of messing with your mind, the first 2 measures have to go with the first 2 measures. The end of the song has to be the end of the song, so it's kind of a no-brainer. Just plug it in where it belongs. All right, let's look at the review I passed out to you, okay? Okay. I was behind me?
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to help me answer these. It's your test. So, Kayla, number 1, in 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 time, what type of note receives 1 beat? Very good. The quarter note. Sierra, in 2/4 time, there are how many beats per measure? 2. Good. Avery, in 3/4 time, there are how many beats per measure? We're lucky now. 4. Elvia, in 3/4 time, a dotted a dotted half note receives how many beats? 3 beats. Good. Leslie, in 4/4 time, a dotted half note receives how many beats? Still 3. Good. I already did Avery. Jocelyn, in 2/4 time, a whole rest receives how many beats? Very good. That's a tricky question. When we see the word whole, we want to think 4. But when it's in any time signature other than 4/4, it still gets the same amount of beats as the top number of the time signature. Bennett, in 3/4 time, a whole rest receives how many beats?
3.
Woot. Ben, in 4/4 time, a whole rest receives how many beats? 4. So that whole rest, its value changes depending upon our meter. So typically that's 4, but it could also equal 3 or 2. Ashton, legato singing or playing means to play the music.
I've always known that as playing legato, and I didn't know what was like connected or smooth. But
Smooth and connected. Very good.
There we go. Okay.
Smooth. You were the right person to get that question. Smooth and connected. Or smoothly connected. Smoothly connected. Let's put that, since you've only got 2 little blanks. Serenity. On wind instruments, a blank indicates when to tongue.
I had some troubles with this question.
Okay. Anybody want to help her out?
So,
Huh.
so,
A slur. That's correct. Remember in this lesson, we were talking about slurs and ties. And at the beginning of a slur is when an instrumentalist would articulate or tongue that first note. And then the rest of them would just be smoothly played. 11, Serenity.
It would be different.
A slur occurs when two or more notes of different pitches are joined by a curved line. Good. Grace, a tie occurs when two or more notes of the same are joined by a curved line. Pretty straightforward. The word legato and slur are kind of synonymous. You need to think of them as together. Right? A slur means to play legato, or your phrase marking. Draw an X above the note where you would change direction of the bow on a string instrument. Write the names of the notes below the staff. So, yes, sir.
that's starting. Is that-
Starting.
Yeah,
So
so,
if I see a slur line here, that means all of these need to be smooth. So I would start in one direction here. Da, 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 da. Bow's going in the same direction, then change the direction of the bow. You understand? Your hand's always going to move for each note, but it's the string movement that would create that slur. It's hard to hear that on a piano, but I can. Can you give me a C? What key is this in? It's in G. Just play this for me, Miss Duke, would you? Okay. Ready? And. So if I was playing this on a wind instrument, ta, ta. You see how only articulated right here and here. That's the beginning of the slur. Need to write in our pitches. D, G, A, B, C, D, C, D. This always comes back. We can't forget this. I know this was unit 1, but naming our pitches is still important. So I'm going to go back and read the instructions and make sure I got all parts. Draw an X above the note where you would change direction of the bow on a string instrument. Done. Write the names of the notes below the staff. Complete. (14) Draw an X above the notes where you would tongue on a wind instrument. This is no different than the previous question. How many X's belong in this exercise? 2. There's 2 phrases. So it's the beginning of the phrase. One here and one here. And the letter names of the notes. I'm paying attention that I'm in bass clef. All cows eat grass, good boys do fine always. And 15, draw an X before the notes where you would lift the hand on a keyboard instrument. Write the names of the notes below the staff. This is no different than the previous 2 questions. You see 2 slurs, so there's 2 X's. And then name your notes. Any questions about that? I feel like they maybe overkilled this concept a little bit. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's no need to continue beating a dead horse about it. But the beginning of the phrase marking tells you where the slur would begin. So they're not just pretty curves to make the music look kind of artsy. They do have a purpose. They're not scrolls. Yeah. Write the number of beats. Write the number of beats in each example on the line. 3 plus 1 is 2 plus 3 is 4 plus 2, 1 plus 2, and 3 plus 4. Somebody say 8.
This class is so much more fruitful than last year's class.
Oh my gosh. It's like crickets chirping every day. Yeah. Felt like I was abused at the end of that class every day. Like, did we just have a class, or was that? I don't know. It was too lecture-y. There should be some reciprocation. Yeah, I like adding Y's to the end of my words. 17. We're going to put in the appropriate time signature and appropriate place and the beats below the staff. So we need to be able to write the beats below the staff also. So, Adriana, what time signature should we use in example A? 2/4, 2 quarters, because there's 2 beats in each measure. Good. Josh, what time signature should we use in B?
4/4.
4/4. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will probably work. We know we're going to need to look at that one a little bit. Okay, and Ben, what would you put in C? 3/4. Write the correct time signature in the appropriate place. 2/4, 4/4, 3/4. Notice that the time signature comes after the clef. So don't write it over here. That's wrong. Appropriate place. And the beats below the staff. So 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something's wrong with this measure. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is tricky. It's actually an editing error. Something needs to be added here. Could be a pickup, but it's not. So I'm missing a beat in this measure.
There's a dot on that. Dotted half note.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Then it's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Good. I did not see the dot. Well, there's so many editing errors in the book that I'm used to looking at it and saying, that's not quite right. Do y'all have that little plus sign, or is it just my mouse? Oh, my mouse is just in the right spot at the right time. Okay, next page. Review of lessons 14 through 17. I like lessons 14 through 17. Repeat signs are 2 dots before or after a double bar. Okay, the next question is asking us, how many total measures would a musician play in the following example? The first thing you need to do is number your measures. Number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to count. How many measures would they play? So they'd play 1. At the minimum, they'd have to play 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. 5, 6, 7, 8. Skip this. 8. Got to skip the first ending the first time and go over to the second ending. So it's 8. They would play 8 measures. That's a tricky question because one of our activities asked us to count how many beats would be played total. Do you get what I'm saying? This question is not asking that. It's asking just for measures. So there's a big difference there. Don't count up all the beats in that particular example. Ms. Duke, can we hear that, please?
Mhm.
One,
Hang on a second. Put my music up here.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That was wrong, sorry.
Repeat.
I was playing too. Da, 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 da. Sorry.
Okay, fill in the correct number. A. So we're looking for how many times we have to have this note to equal this side. What makes it true? So this is a multiplication question. And the value of an eighth note is what? Half. So half times what equals 2? 4. 0.5 times 4 equals 4. Sorry, 2. 0.5 times 4 equals 2. So half times what to equal 3? It's 6. 0.5 times 6 equals 3. Or half a beat 6 times equals 3 beats. Okay, this is a little tricky one for those of us who remember the true function of the augmented dot. Half times what equals 1.5? 3. It's 3. That's 1 beat. There's 1.5 beat. That's 1 beat. Those are equal. So if 1.5 beat would be the same as 3 eighth notes together. So half times 3 equals a dotted quarter note. And D. Half times what equals 4? 8. It takes 8 eighth notes to equal a whole note. All right, 4. Complete the notes by adding stems to the first measure and beamed notes in pairs to the second measure. Be sure the stems are pointing in the correct direction. So complete the notes by adding stems to the first measure, down, or up, up, down. Got to change the direction of the stem on the third beat there because it is higher than the second space. And then we need to add beamed pairs to this measure. So I'm going to go ahead and add all my stems. They should go down because all the notes are above the second space. And then I'm going to put them in pairs. Pairs means 2. So the first 2 go together, the next 2, and the last 2. I'm going to check my instructions to the first measure and beam notes in pairs to the second measure. Be sure the stems are pointing in the right direction. I'm going to go back and check. Here's the second space. Anything above it should have stems that go down. Questions? All right. Five. Fill in the correct number. Now we're with rests, and this little guy right here is our 8th rest. Its value is half a beat, and that looks like a hat, so it's a half rest. So half times what equals 2, 1, 1. Oh, we got a half rest there, plus 2. And I see a whole rest in 4/4 times, so its value is 4. So half times what equals 2, class? 4. Half times what equals 3? 6. Half times what equals 1?
2,
And half times what equals 4?
8.
8. Complete the measures by adding 1 rest above each arrow. The Hallelujah chorus from the Messiah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Okay, so complete the measures by adding 1 rest above each arrow. So I'm taking note of my time signature. I should have 4 beats in each measure. Okay, so this is half plus half plus half. There's 1.5 beats, and here's another half. So I've got 2 beats here. It's important that you're adding the values of these notes. Half, these together make 1 beat. So half, 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 half. 2 beats are done. I need to put 2 more beats in the music. So I'll need a quarter rest is 1 beat. An eighth rest is half a beat. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, and a half. I need another half beat in here. It's an eighth rest. Okay, this should also have 4 beats. I have 1 beat present. Half plus half is 1. I need 1 rest above each. So I need 3 more beats. I need a quarter rest and a half rest. That accounts for the other 3 beats that should be present in the measure. Okay, this measure, I'm going to go ahead and do myself a solid and recognize the fact that this measure is exactly like the first one. Recognizing patterns, very important in music. Patterns are prolific throughout music, and the more you recognize them, the easier this will become. So I just copy what I did in the first measure. Quarter rest, eighth rest, eighth rest. I'm going to count up the values and make sure, just again, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 1 more is 4. And again with the last measure, it's exactly like measure 2.
When I used to do those rhythms, if y'all have trouble adding those up, when I used to do this, I used to go above the notes and put their values. So above all, like the quarter rest, I would put 1, and the eighth rest, I would put 1/2. And then I would go back and I would add them up that way, because I was really bad at math. The music thing didn't help me in my math class, so I had to do it that way. That's just a suggestion if you're having trouble figuring out how many beats, how did we figure that out? That was another way that I did it.
Another great tip with eighth notes, if you see them beamed together, 2 of them in pairs like that, that's 1 beat.
Yeah.
You just go ahead and count that as 1 beat total. You don't even have to mess with there's half plus half. If it's beamed together, there's 1 beat. If you see 4 of them beamed together, that's 2 beats. There's 2 beats of value there, eating up that amount of space in the measure. Seven. The dotted quarter note equals how many beats in 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 time? Thank you, Leslie. Got something new today. 1.5 beats. That's right. What's the name of this called? What is it? The augmented dot. What is its purpose again? It makes the pitch 50% longer. So it adds half the value of the note it follows.
Is there like a double value?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do that to everybody.
That's interesting.
That's for when you start to get into like 30-second nodes and you have to divide them out that way. And
Right.
nobody's counting those. They're just feeling them. All right. So, Ashton, since you want to know about transposition, when you see this little, rewrite this with first and second endings, you can go ahead and write it in a different key. Since you want to be challenged in that way.
Well, that song was originally written in the key of G, so
Right.
you could.
It should be in G.
Uh-huh.
Should be minuet in G. Is it called minuet? No. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. It's asking us to rewrite the example using first and second endings. What's your job? Number your measures immediately. Sixteen measures. And we need to get it to fit into, I'm going to raise this up just a tad. Into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 measures.
6 measures.
Now, what'd you say?
Originally I said 6 measures would be gone, but they just won't be visible.
So we're going to need to put this music down here. Now, we've already talked about the first measure is going to be the first measure. It has to be. So this is the little tip I'm going to give you. Get the last two measures, which is 15 and 16, and put them in the last two measures. Do that first. So they will become your 9th and 10th measures down in the second ending. Then I'm going to go up here and cross those measures out. They're done. They've been used. Next, measures 1 through 8 have to go in measures 1 through 8. We're not changing the time signatures, so measure 1 will be different when you get down into the bottom section. I mean, we could, and then that would be the only place or situation where we would have different notes and different numbered measures. Copies measures 1 through 8. Measures 1 through 8, copy exactly as they appear. How many beats belong in each measure? Just 3. I'm going to cross out measures 1 through 8. So what measures have I not copied? 9 through 14. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Well, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, what have you noticed about them? They're exactly like measures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I don't have to repeat them. So my tip to you is, whatever's in the second ending, if there's 4 measures in the second ending, take the last 4 measures from the example and put it in the second ending. It's not the first 8 measures that's the tricky part. It's figuring out what goes in the very end. And if you've got that right, your repeat will occur at the right time. Questions? All right. Moving on. Hold on, I need to check out the directions again and make sure I covered everything in it. Rewrite the example, use some first and second endings in the stat below. So it didn't say to do anything else, so I'm finished with that. Now, I didn't give you this listening example before, and it is pretty much what it says it is, which is listening. There's something to be said for actually hearing these examples that I'm teaching about all the time instead of just trying to figure out what it's supposed to sound like when you're looking at the page. In each time signature, there are natural strong beats. I addressed that in the 3/4 time. What is the natural strong beat in 3/4 time? It's beat 1 because it's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1. It's supposed to be a dance. In each time signature, there are natural strong beats. In 2/4, the strong beat is on beat 1. Listen to the example. 1, ready, and... So she accented beat 1. Could you play it again and accent all of them the same, please? Ready, and... I mean, yeah, it still sounds the same. It's the same rhythm, the same notes, but it had a different feel to it. It didn't feel as musical. A little bit quicker, accenting the appropriate beats again. 1, 2, ready. Da, 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 da. And in 3/4, the strong beat is 1. We talked about that being a waltz. So we're going to hear this example, and the first beat of each measure is where we should be taking that step for our waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. It's especially important in 3/4 time when you're reading it that you accent beat 1, because you will get lost. You will not know what the rhythms are supposed to be because you're not really feeling that strong pulse on beat 1. Would you do that again and not accent any of them? Okay. 1, ready, and... Right here especially is where it kind of got like, what? That didn't sound right. Do it one more time exactly like you just did.
Okay.
1, ready, and... Felt like she needed to stay here longer. Now accent them one more time. 1, and ready. Da, 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 da. Makes more sense musically. And in 4/4, the strong beat is on beat 1 with a secondary emphasis on beat 3. Classically,
Right.
like country and western music, rock, we want to feel 2 and 4, but classically it's 1 and 3. I want to get that shirt. Friends don't let friends clap on 1 and 3.
Yeah.
You know how you go somewhere and people are clapping along and half the group is clapping on 1 and 3 and the other half is clapping on 2 and 4. Well, who's right? Well, both could sound good if it was just one set of people doing the same thing, but it really depends on the style of music that is being played. So in 4/4 time, we should feel a pulse on 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1,
2 and 1, 3.
well, sorry, 1 and 3. Thank you. I'm pointing to 3,
Yeah.
saying 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. And without any accents, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just a little more boring. You know what I mean? It's a nice little melody, and when you put the correct style on it and feel the heavier pulse where you're supposed to be doing that, it brings the melody to life. It's one of the trickiest things to teach, especially vocalists, because they just want to sing all the notes and words like they were equal, and it's a tough little concept to instill in a good singer. All right, 4. In the 2 examples below, listen for the dotted quarter note, 8th note rhythm. That's 1 and 3 and. So these get half a beat. And remember, I asked you to think of the little dot. There's 4 beats in a measure. That has to be beat 1. So that dot represents 2. The little dot will always represent the next beat. So 1. So the 8th note that follows it is on and. This is beats 1 and 2, so this quarter note is 3. The dot is the 4th beat. Okay, it's taken 1.5 beats. The first half of the 4th beat, the first half of the 2nd beat, first half of the 2nd beat. She's going to accent which beats? 1 and 3, because we're in 4/4 time, so 1 and 3 should feel heavier. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Da 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 rest. Da 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 da. And all through the night, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. One and 3, 4, 1 and 3, 4, 1, 3 and 1. Thank you for playing that. And 22. Or number 5. Listen to the 2-measure example and write the rhythm. The example will be played twice. So, how many beats should be in each measure? So you should put 4 dots in the bottom of each one of these measures, right? Those represent your beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Now, you remember how that little dot right there gets the 2nd beat, just so you know. So we're gonna have to be concerned about maybe an eighth note right here or an eighth rest. If she's kind, she'll put an eighth note there because we need that right now. But you can't be putting anything over the second dot because there's something already over the second dot, and it's this note right here. Okay, it's already getting half this value, so we may get something here. All right, so we're gonna hear the rhythm. I'm gonna move this up just a little bit so that y'all can see. We'll do this together. Oh, I can't move it up any. Yes, I can. All through the night. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's get a steady beat going. Remember, you move along with the dots. If you hear a sound, you draw what? A circle, a note head. Okay. 1, 2, and ready, and play, and. Again, 1 and 2 and ready. Sorry. What am I really focused on this time? Anybody have an idea? Checking my answer, of course, but I really need to be listening for rests. Make sure that there wasn't a rest that I missed because she had some longer pitches in there, right? Okay, here we go. 1 and 2 and ready and go. This is correct. This is what you should have gotten there. Right. Mm-hmm. Great. She also played heavier beats on the first and third beats of these measures. That helps us. It makes us feel that we're in the right place of the music at the right time so we don't get lost. Okay. All right, next and last. I think I need to back out a little bit here. In fact, I'm just going to, there's 4 measures in this one? 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. We'll just do that this way. Grab a black marker. First note, the quarter note.
3/4 times.
Boy,
So let's set ourselves up for success. We're going to put our beats in, paying attention to the time signature. There's only 3 beats in each measure. And we know that this is a waltz, so feeling the first beat of each measure as being emphasized will help you know and give you more confidence and security of knowing that you're placing particular note heads in the right place. So when we listen the first time, we're moving along with each beat. If you hear something over a beat, you need to draw a note head. You got to start thinking this way. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Because this little section right here could have notes in them. They're the up parts of the beats because we're now dividing beats in half with sound, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and Okay, now I'm going to be listening for rests. I'm kind of concerned about this area right here. I may need to add a rest here. I need to double check that what I heard here is correct. I know I heard a sound on the end of the second beat, but there's some space here that kind of worries me. And same here. Am I supposed to hear a rest here? I know there was a sound over this beat, so I'm confident in that, but should I be shading that note head in when I listen to it the second time? Here it goes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2. Good. Now she's not over here beat on the piano for you. She's playing it. That's your job. You know what I mean? You have to feel that pulse. I count you off. You have to stay with that. Okay. Now we're going to give you another shot on that. That's a little bit tricky. Check your answer one more time. I hope that when we do these, you think of it as more like a cool little challenge to see if you can get it right instead of some boring exercise that you're terrified of getting wrong. You're training your ear to hear these rhythms and be able to reproduce them. I'll keep the beat for you this time. And
The same one.
and isn't it?
Okay.
1 and 2 and 3 and. Is it correct, Ms. Jim?
Yes.
Anybody else get this answer? Anybody not get this answer? You were in the ballpark? That's good. That's good. This is not an easy skill to acquire. It just takes practice. So don't feel like I'm doing terrible music theory because when they do those listening examples, I am not getting them 100%. That's okay. If anything, you should at least get the first beat of each measure. Start there. If you're doing poorly with the listening examples, be sure that you're at least getting note heads where they belong. In fact, I want to practice a couple more of those.